Rosa, ¿cómo están? Muy buenas noches y bienvenidos. Y disculpen la voz, pero gracias por acompañarme. Hoy es jueves 29 de septiembre del 2022. Aquí son las 7:32 aquí en Tijuas. Saludos a los que nos acompañan probablemente por Facebook, YouTube o Twitch. Saludos, saludos, saludos. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Y también tenemos estas redes sociales en las que podemos estar en contacto o ustedes pueden checar la programación. Y aprovecho ahorita para pedirles una disculpa por mi voz o por mi garganta. Aparte que ya saben que mi labor como docente de repente a veces me forza a gritar, pero ayer nos fuimos a un concierto, entonces estamos viviendo ahora sí que los estragos de un concierto en donde me la pasé grite y grite y pues en el mosh pit, pero ya platicaremos en alguna ocasión sobre eso. Y déjenme checar ahorita que tenemos aquí nuestros invitados, pero hoy es una edición nueva de Metal y Mosh Pits. Tenemos la edición número 78. Hoy va a ser un poquito diferente porque vamos a manejar también la plática en inglés. Entonces espero que para los que nos acompañen, si algo quedó en duda, pues nos puedan acompañar en la repetición, en donde ya aparecerán los captions o los subtítulos y ustedes ahí podrán hacer el cambio a español. Pero vamos a entonces a darle la bienvenida a nuestros invitados. Entonces les recuerdo, a partir de aquí comenzamos una sección pues ya en inglés, pero les agradezco mucho a todos los que nos van acompañando, ya sea en Facebook o Twitch. Recuerden que estamos también en Spotify al día siguiente. Ok, compañeros, y voy a ir tratando de ajustar mi voz poco a poco en lo que va pasando el rato. ¿Qué onda, dude? ¿Qué onda, dude? ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Cómo estamos, Memo? Saludos, saludos. Cheers, cheers. Y muchos saludos, dude. Gracias por estar aquí. Guacha, ¿cómo ando todavía la voz, güey? Ayer que salimos de la tocada, así andábamos, ¿no? Pero bueno. No vamos a dejar a nuestros invitados esperando. Vamos a traer a The Vein Machine. Vein Machine, hello guys, how are you guys doing? Good evening.
Good. How's it going? We're doing very well. Thank you for having us on your show.
No, on the contrary, thank you guys for joining us. And Mitch was telling me just a while ago that you guys just someone picked up someone at the airport just a while ago. Right?
Yeah, that's this guy. So Bobby Stevens is the newest addition to Vein Machine as the drummer. And yeah, so I had to pick him up from the airport yesterday in Palm Springs. Bobby is based out of Tacoma, Washington. So yeah, he's come a long way to join us for these shows that we're going to be doing in Mexicali and Tijuana. And yeah, I mean, we've been working together for about a year now.
It's been let's see, I think a year was last month.
Yeah. So we've been working together remotely for about a year, and it's so far everything's been working out.
Nice. Tacoma, all the way to Tacoma, Washington. I'm a big Twin Peaks fan. I don't know if that's even around there somewhere where we're talking about, but so it's been a year just that you joined, and it's technology nowadays can hook us up, right? We can share each other different sessions of whatever we create. But I would like to go back in time a little bit, guys.
Sure.
I like for my audience to know how we started in music. So if you can you guys tell us what were your first influences, or what do you think woke up your passion for music? So whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Would you like to start, Bobby?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
So basically,
This is a Back to the Future session. Okay.
It's Back to the Future. Yeah, long time ago for me. Yeah. Let's see. I was 10 years old. Let's see, because I was raised around musicians. My dad's a drummer also. So I was kind of around it, and my mom was a singer. So basically, when I was 10 years old, I kind of just picked up the drums, and I just kind of listened to a lot of different types of drummers, different types of music, from jazz to hip hop to, I mean, old school rock, even country, because I wanted to learn it all because I was really into it. So basically, and then there's like a few drummers who I really look up to. Like you have like Neil Peart. Obviously he's one of those great drummers, and Carter Beauford from the Dave Matthews Band, kind of So I'm a big Dave Matthews Band fan. So yeah, so I kind of learned from like a few drummers, but I kind of made it my own too, like as I gotten older and whatnot. So I mean, I just never stopped. So that was like 30 years ago. So long story.
That's crazy, Bob, because I once had to go to see Dave Matthews Band live because
Oh,
on my own, because my friends were like, dude, what do you mean Dave Matthews?
yeah, a lot of people laughed at me. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I had my metal band and we're like, oh, dude, no, we're
You're
not
like,
going to
Dave
go with
Matthews?
you.
Yep.
And it was like, no, Carter Beauford is the best drummer.
Oh
I
man.
mean, compared to these death metal, super speedy drummers, he's my main guy. And it's crazy. I was just looking to my girlfriend. It's like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But,
Same thing here. I mean, I've always looked up to him, and I mean, I just learned a lot from him, and kind of went from there. And then, yeah, I mean, very amazing drummer. Very
yeah,
technical,
I
totally
love
different too. You know, that open hand style. I'm sure.
yeah, exactly.
You know, totally different. It's pretty
And
cool.
how he got used to a righty drum kit, right? He has his
Mhm.
drum kit set up for a righty, and I think he's a lefty, right?
Because
What do you think?
apparently, I guess how he started because he was watching Buddy Rich on TV, but like as being a kid, you know, watching TV, everything is like switched, like mirrored. So he thought it was natural to have the hi-hat, like I mean, the hi-hat and actually play like on that side. But then he switched everything over to the regular side, so that's why he plays open-handed because he started out as a left. Yeah, yeah, crazy. So.
Oh, he's awesome, man. Thanks, Bobby. So was there a genre that you could say you identified with back then? Was there like, okay, this is my favorite?
Um, they all have a home to me, so it's like really hard to say like which one's my favorite because they all have somewhere in my heart to where I make them my own. So it's just kind of like all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I mean, I do like hip hop beats, you know, things like that. So if I have to name one, kind of like hip hop style, like a lot of bass drum, snare drum heavy, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I love it that all the info you get, right? You start making a big archive,
Right.
and it's a big like a big data bank, right, of all of this different genres. So let's go. Let me bring in Monk. Let me see if we can hear him. I think he just joined him. Hey, how are you doing, man?
Yeah. Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Audio.
How you doing?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Was having a bit of difficulty logging in, but I'm ready now.
No worries, no worries. Thanks you for joining, man. I'm going with we're going back in time here with a Vein Machine. We're
Okay.
talking with Bobby and his beginning with music, and I think we can go with you now, Omar. You want to talk with about your influence, and then we'll go with you, Monk. So
Okay.
Oh boy.
what woke that passion? What woke up that passion for music back then? Do you remember?
Honestly, for me, I think what started the passion for me in music was back when Purple Rain was first released. One of my aunts took me to watch it, and even though I had a lot of heavy roots as far as music is concerned, listening to a lot of classical music because that was really kind of the only music like my father would allow me to listen to. so as a young kid, you know, going to this movie theater and watching Prince, you know, on stage and just kind of like the rivalry between Prince and Morris Day, I thought was very comical. And that's where I really started kind of getting an interest in synthesizers because the synth player in that band, he would wear like medical scrubs, like from a doctor. And I thought, oh, that's a cool look, you know, like I totally want to do that. So, but it wasn't really until I was about 14 or so that I started really getting into, you know, heavily influenced into electronic music. And that's when I have an older sister who would sometimes go, you know, to record shops in Los Angeles, and she would bring back all this really great, amazing music that I never heard. living in a small town in the desert in California, because that's kind of where I had my humble beginnings, was like I kind of soaked it all in. It was right around the time where when K-Rock was very, very popular. So they were playing a lot of Depeche Mode, a lot of New Order, a lot of The Cure, Human League, Heaven 17. Those were like a majority of the bands that I grew up listening to, and then it kind of spanned from there. So at a young age, as a teenager, I started experimenting with synthesizers, and even though I didn't know how to play, I was very determined to basically teach myself how to play. And so that's where that kind of came from. So and then of course, like, I saw Depeche Mode for the very first time live, and then all hell broke loose. Like, I was in complete love about it. So yeah, that's kind of where my like start kind of happened, and then it just kind of went from there. So
and the synthesizers, right? I think that,
Yeah.
they you can do a lot of stuff with them. There was a time when I was like, but not against, because I was a big metalhead. But eventually I started hearing Massive Attack, Tricky. Then I hear about this Affix Twin or Aphex Twin.
Yeah.
And then I get into Kraftwerk. And then there's like, oh my goodness, I discovered this. And then here in TJ Monk, you remember, I don't know, remember at the end of the 90s, or like in 97, 96, these rave parties started popping up in houses or in different places. Lots of DJs started coming out and different genres, right? But Monk, let's go with you. Let's remind our audience what started or what woke up that passion for music when you were a youngster.
I think it was around 87, 88. I was around 8 years old, 9 years old. I bought my first album. It was Information Society.
Yeah.
First album. And immediately the passion grew. Then I discovered Depeche Mode, New Order. And at the beginning of the 90s, we were into Skinny Puppy, Front 42, who's playing today at LA. Didn't get a chance to go. And then at the end of the 90s, we started listening to old school EBM, like Leather Strip, Wombscud. And we only liked synth pop that came from Depeche Mode or new wave bands. And there were a lot of synth pop bands in Europe, but I didn't get into that until maybe 2001, 2002. And then what influenced me to make this kind of mixture of my music, it was that I try to incorporate different styles like future pop, dark wave, and that grew into what is now Ego Bliss.
Nice. And I love it, guys. And let's talk about this also. I call these episodes Metal and Mosh Pits, guys, over there for you guys, because the channel, one day I can have an MMA fighter. Next show, maybe I'm going to talk with a chef. And I'm like the Joe Rogan, but on this side, right? That kind of like it. But I don't have like one topic, but I did want to talk about metal and music. Music is one of my passions, but metal is something that a lot of people have this stigma over it, or they think that it's all about satanic and like they're burning crosses or stuff like that. And it's a way for me to show people that it's not that, right, that what everyone thinks. But this kind of music, this dark synth that I hear from you guys, it has this dark side also. Let's talk about that, because that is something that I love about it, but it still has this groove that it makes you like I said, I told my girlfriend, it makes you dance. It makes you want to dance. And I'm not a dancer, but there's very little kind of genres that will make me move. And this is one of them. This makes me move big time, but it has this dark side. And let's take this opportunity to start. How did Vein Machine start? Vein Machine, I'm sorry, Omar. And let's talk about this dark side that we can go into with the synthesizers also, right?
Sure. So, so I guess the dark side, like I said, kind of growing up, I mean, my main influence really as a teenager was listening to a lot of Depeche Mode, and a lot of those undertones of some of the things that Martin Gore would write about, him being the songwriter. He would write about all kinds of different things, and a lot of things that I feel as a songwriter is very important is that you're doing the storytelling, and and a lot of times it could be in a third person, it could be in a first person, it could be from any different perspectives. But for me, it was okay. Well, if I'm going to write a song, I want it to be something that is going to have some kind of impact for the listener, to do something that I feel that as a listener, you're going to have some kind of you're going to be able to relate to it very, very well, because a lot of people, they go through a lot of heartache. They go through a lot of, they have distrust. They have all these different issues. And I think one of the most important things was that I didn't really want to write music from a political perspective, but more so just about common day life things that affect people in a very difficult way. And for me, one of those things is talking about mental health. As a person who has gone through a lot of different things from a mental health perspective, I feel like there's, you're talking about how metal has kind of like this stigma. But for the longest time, mental health had a stigma about, just from everything from how people were treated before, people were being diagnosed with different types of disorders, that it's kind of like having a voice for those who don't. And so I think maybe that's where my dark side of it comes out. Oh my gosh, you can hear my doorbell.
Oh my God. Best doorbell ever.
Yeah, speaking of, sorry. Well, that was embarrassing. So yeah, I mean, I get it. I get that whole stigma portion of it. And like I said, I think from a songwriter's perspective, it's, you're just telling stories and trying to, be relevant within those stories that people are going to love. And so I hope, people who do listen to Vein Machine actually, love the music. So so there's that.
I love it. I love this part that you say that you give this voice to those that don't have that voice, right? So they can relate, or they can identify to this. And I totally understand that part. And I want to share these comments on the from the chat. Here's my other half. Welcome to Monjeverse, Vein Machine.
Nice.
That's how we call this place, since I didn't choose a topic. They're like, it's like a universe here, so let's just call it Monjeverse. So let me saludos Carlos, saludos Charlie. He's in Sonora, Mexico. Salutes man, guys. He's here saluting everyone. That was a fun background sound. Maybe a neighbor. No, it's his doorbell. That's awesome. I love it. I hope we get to hear it again. But
maybe, yeah, we might.
But what do you think about that, Bobby? About this? I call it dark side, but it's this kind of like, as you said, Omar, this place that we can relate it. I talk about a lot of this when we were youngins, or when we were kids. Most of us, we didn't follow the pack, right? We were like the rejects. We were like the introverts.
Definitely.
We were the guy with the guitar that didn't follow these guys. But eventually, when we find our pack, that loves what we love, and we identify, we can socialize, and we can open up, right? We can
Right.
take off this mask.
Mhm.
And once we find this kind of style or music, I love it, Ben. But as you mentioned, as at least I love it, Omar. I love what you're doing. But Bob, what do you think about this? About this, we can call it stigma, or this that a lot of people would say, like, oh no, that's satanic, or that's only imploring death, or whatever. But no, it's actually talking about feelings, right? Sometimes.
No, exactly, and that's the whole thing. Like Omar was saying, and the whole emotional aspect and the mental aspect, and kind of go from there. So I think the human mind and the human ear needs to hear certain tones anyway. So if you want to talk about like sound wise, because a lot of people get scared of a certain guitar note and they automatically think it's evil. But like a lot of times, I think people need certain sounds to hear like a certain time in life. So I mean, I never got like huge into the whole like metal music aspect, but I think the furthest I go with like metal anyway is like Tool, like Tool for instance. I mean, just amazing. I mean, or like some like Alice in Chains, if you want to think more of like darker sounding music. So I mean, I just think it kind of hits like right there. It's an emotion. So I mean, I'll just call it that. So.
Yeah, it is, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to the toughest question of all. It's going to come in a bit, but Monk, what do you think about this? About, because sometimes in dark synth or in dungeon synth, we'll see or we'll hear about this also, right? That, oh man, it's all about imploring something, or but some people just don't know that you guys are trying to express and what you're feeling sometimes, or what you think that we sometimes wake someone up, right, with a lyric. But what do you think about this?
When I'm writing, I write about a lot of stuff, religion, even though I'm not religious. Something that inspires me, maybe dealing with some form of depression, maybe. Um, but it kind of blends in with what you say, dark, um, that feeling, Um, basically, that's it. I try to write about a lot of different stuff, and it kind of finding the right word to say. I don't know. It's like it's like what we try to express, you know. But it works. It's worked for me. I think it's worked for Omar too. Um, it's weird. It's weird music. Maybe you can call it that.
Yeah, because sometimes we have like our notebook with this lyric that you've been like, eventually I'll use it, right? I'll use it eventually. Some people have told me,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I wrote that when I was in junior high or like that. But some people say, no, no, what I write is what I'm feeling in that moment, right? So sometimes it's what we feel in that moment, and it doesn't have to be metal, right? It's any genre. But let's start with you, Omar. I like to talk about something here in all of my shows with any kind of artist, right? It can be in the kitchen, it can be painting. I talk about this world that we go in. I remember it when I used to have my band, we would rehearse and we would go into this invisible world, invisible bubble. I call it a trance. And painters, players, martial artists have told me, oh, yeah, I've gone into this trance. But in music, it's kind of different, right? Because sometimes we're syncing with someone else, or we're syncing with an instrument, and we're creating something that is not tangible or visual. How would you describe this world, Omar, that we go into? It can be live, or it can be in rehearsal. It can be just you and your synthesizers, right? But we disconnect from reality, right? What do you call this world? How do you express it?
That's
it's a hard question.
That is a hard question, because I think the thing is, is when I'm definitely in my creative process. I can definitely say that it is like transformative to a point to where I'm going into this zone that it's from this creative perspective that I don't even know how I do the things that I do. And so when I'm writing, I write kind of opposite. So I create the music first, and then I write the lyrics after. So when I was younger, I used to have like a notebook full of lyrics and just things that I would jot down, things that I thought that would be great for me to like kind of go back, like you were talking about. And so when I first started writing songs for as Vein Machine, it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, when I'm feeling the music in the moment, I also want to write about what's going on in the moment with me, or what's going on in the world as it's happening. Because just from that point of view, it seems to have worked for me. And I don't think that really answered your question, because we're talking about this transformative trance state that we get into. But even when I'm performing live and interacting with an audience, it does put me in this state where I do feel like I'm impenetrable and I can do virtually anything. Like nothing can stop me from not doing anything that I want. Right. And music just kind of takes you there. It's within the lyrics, it's within the interactions you have with people, it's with everything that I think that I guess kind of comes with it and puts you in that place.
Yeah, totally. The zone. I love it because it's a hard question. That's why I love to make it.
It is.
But it's a great way of it's something that I've always talked about to friends, but when they haven't been with creating art, or they've never picked up an instrument, it's hard to describe it, right? So I try to find musicians how would you call this, right? And you as a drummer, Bobby, I always remember these jam sessions when the drummer would just like start with the hi-hat and
Right.
1, 2, 3, and boom, we get into this bubble where no one else exists. It's only the four of us. But when you're with an audience and they connect with you, this trance goes like tenfold, right? But how would you describe it? How would you describe that, Bob?
Kind of like how Omar was explaining it. I mean, there's definitely like a trance going on, and a lot of times, like if you find that one or two people who are just loving what you're doing, it's like an automatic high, and then the whole show is just like, I mean, first of all, it goes by so quick. It's like it's done within no time. But like, there's a certain place, definitely there's chills, your hair in the back of your neck's raising up. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's definitely something that only a musician can experience. There's no drug that is better than it. There's no beautiful woman that can make you feel this way. It's amazing. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
how I explain it.
Yeah, no, it's not.
How do I explain it? There's so many ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say it's not something that you can put in a cup and okay, here,
Exactly.
so you can try it. No, it's not tangible, right? You can't like here, try some. No. There's nothing like it. What do you think about that, Monk? Being live with people, connecting with them, but sometimes just being on your own with yours. I'm looking at your synth there on the back. Damn, that looks like a very old school one on the others. Yeah, but go ahead. Talk to us about that synth and how would you describe the track?
Honestly, I haven't used that synth. You can see it over there. I haven't used it. Probably like 2 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's basically a connection between the musicians. keyboard player, drummer, whatever. Me as the singer, it's a connection between the audience and me, and it's overwhelming. It really is overwhelming.
It is.
Just to see them enjoying the show, singing your songs. I don't know. It makes you go to this other place, other world, maybe. Yeah, and there's no drug like it. I think that special feeling.
And it makes you want to live it again, right?
Yeah.
The show ends and you're like,
It's
damn,
addictive. It's addictive.
The high goes away.
yeah, it's like I wanted it back. I want it back.
Yeah.
I was in this mosh pit. I got bumped in the head. Like it was like I always describe it like it's like a big right here. I think you can see it. But it's this therapeutic place. It's like my spa. It's my like I'm a teacher. I'm a grade school teacher. So all of this tension, stress that accumulates right there in the mosh pit, it's like, there you go. And getting these chills, the chills that you mentioned. Oh man, that's what I want. Nothing like living it in live, like receiving the music live. It's unique. But let's start talking about what's coming up for you guys. Let's talk about these 2 dates. I was looking at your Facebook in Vein Machine. I just shared it here in the chat. I see that you also have, after TJ, you're going to Salt Lake City and then LA. But we have these 2 here in Mexicali and in TJ. Have you guys been over here before as Vein Machine, Omar?
Only in Tijuana.
Okay.
Vein Machine has been... I think if we've been playing, we've played Mexico probably since 2000. I want to say maybe 2018 is when we first were invited to go to Tijuana. Obviously, we wanted to do a lot more cities. We just never really had connections to go further into Mexico. And then it would be our first time in Mexicali. So Bobby's first time in Mexico. He's never been to Mexico.
Yeah, I've never been to Mexico. I'm excited.
So I was telling him about how for my first time going to Tijuana to play a show there, it was very overwhelming for me because the nightlife is so intense. There's a lot of loud music. There's so many people on the streets, and you go from place to place and you see all these people just enjoying themselves, enjoying the music, enjoying all the elements of it. And I think that's one of the things that's really amazing going to, being able to return to Tijuana is being able to see that again, because it ignites kind of this, it ignites something in you. It makes you feel like, wow, like I'm part of this. And it's just it's a great feeling to just see it all, to watch everybody. I'm a people watcher, so I like to watch like what people are doing and how they're doing it and how they're enjoying themselves, and it's great. I'm extremely looking forward to returning or to going to Mexicali, because like I have never been there before. And Mario and I have gone back some years when he had a project called Paranormal. So I think that's when we met back then. We had done a show together, and he was performing as Paranormal, and yeah, I think from there we've known each other since that long. So to do a show with Mario again, at any capacity, like it's like a great honor for me to be able to do these shows, because there is some history between like how our friendship started, and it started in Tijuana, so I'm very excited about returning there and seeing what the nightlife is like, even though we have not been there, have not performed in Mexico probably since 2019. It was probably the last time we were there before the pandemic. So I'm very excited to return.
So, Bobby, your first Mexico trip. How do you feel?
I know, man. was totally pumped. I was like, let's do it. So,
So then right after that, after we play these two shows, we're going to be performing at there's a festival that they have in Salt Lake City called the Dark Arts Festival. And so we'll be taking part of that, which will be the following Saturday on October 8th. That's with a lot of great, I guess, a lot of great local talent that is going to be there. But it's a very small festival. It was much larger before, but now it's gotten a little bit smaller, and I think it's catering more towards like the local. More of the local talent that is from that area. So we were invited to go play that. We had played it in 2015. We had supported Hocico there. And that was quite a long time ago. And we're really excited to be able to be a part of this festival. And then December 17th in Los Angeles, we'll be with Carved Souls, which is their a synthesizer band that's been around for quite some time, as well as this other band called Black Light that has basically started becoming very popular. And I started working with them, I would say about 1.5 years ago. I worked with them doing a remix for them, and I've been helping them, kind of since then. We performed with them back in March, and it was their very first show. So they're starting to play a lot more shows. They're opening for Aesthetic Perfection in November. So they're on a really good path to bring their music to this to this scene as well. And I think that's one of the things that I really love to do is I love helping other bands, especially the ones that they're very vision driven and and helping them out in any capacity that I can. So, and I think that's one of the great things about networking with different musicians is that in a lot of ways we all support each other, and that's an amazing feeling. When it's I can say, oh hey, Mario, do you want to do a show? And he'll be like, hell yeah, let's do a show together. So I love that. I love that there's this camaraderie amongst a lot of us where we just really support each other, and it's just supporting our art. That's just how I look at it, and it's great. It's really great.
Nice. That's cool. Black Light. I'm gonna check those out. Hey, carnita asada, Monk. Le van a hacer carnita asada. He can't leave without a carnita asada. Bobby needs a carnita asada.
I'm gonna say yes, I guess.
Say yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are gonna have a carne asada on tomorrow. A friend of ours in Mexicali promised us a carne asada, so
cool.
They'll be set up. Yeah.
Hey,
tacos.
There's this. They have to go visit also this Chinese place, the HK. You gotta take him. Monk's like, don't do that.
No, first time.
He'll tell you.
I don't know that place.
I gotta hear about it.
Oh, you've heard about it? Well,
No,
we got a question from our good friend Charlie. Hey guys, how did you come up with the band name for Vein Machine, Omar? Can you give us a background on that?
Sure. Well, I think the most interesting thing about Vein Machine is that I originally did not start the project. I was basically invited by these two gentlemen that were already kind of trying to start a project, but they couldn't find anybody to sing for them. And what ended up happening was that I was brought on board to become a singer. And this is before I actually started writing for the band. And at that only time, I was only writing lyrics for the band. And what they would, and how it kind of happened was that there was this gentleman that I was working with by the name of Bo Baker, and he had done a remix of my band, some years before. And when you're in a band, I think one of the things that kind of happens a little bit is that you run into working with people that can sometimes not be very reliable. So what ended up happening is that I had taken a break from music for quite some time, and I didn't think I was ever going to come back to it. So I was approached by these guys, and they said, "Hey, do you want to write some lyrics for us?" And I said, "Sure. Like, what do you got?" I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the sound was going to be, but they said they wanted to do something electronic. And so once I heard the music, I was like, "Wow, this is really, really great. I'd love to be a part of this." And so then I started, throwing down vocals for them, and then they said, "No, we don't want you anymore." Yeah, so we don't want you anymore. We want to go with a female instead. We want to go with a female singer instead because we want it to be sexy and all these different things. And I was like, okay, well, let's see how that works out. So they had auditioned some other singers, and it didn't work out. And so I guess the other person that was part of Machine, I didn't create the name. My partner that I started Machine with, he had come up with the name, and he just thought that it was just a cool name. Ironically enough, there were other bands that had like kind of like the name Machine in their name. So you have Minute Machine, you have all these different machine bands. So I don't know if that was kind of popular at that point when that started, but so this one person left, and he was writing a majority of the music for the band, and so when he left, because he didn't like the way I sang, it was kind of funny. It's not funny, but it was just an odd situation. I realized that, well, we have this material, but it's not really ours. It was his. So then I had to start writing songs for Machine, and so alongside between me and Bo Baker, we just started working on one song after another, releasing a single here and there. And then we were approached by Analog Trash, which is our record label that we've been on since the beginning, since 2015. And they basically have supported anything that I've been doing since then. Unfortunately, I'm not working with Bo Baker anymore because Bobby's here. But see, that's what kind of happens when you're in a band and you have these people that you think they're really great, and they share their vision. Then there's other things that happen, and then they're not able to kind of fulfill their role. And then you have to find other people to kind of help you with that. And so there has been some. There have been different members that have come through with Machine, but it always seems to work out. And I think one of the main things I'm looking forward to is now with Bobby on board is actually writing the next album with a lot of what he brings to the live shows, and incorporating that into the next studio album, which is before everything was all the drums were programmed, from that perspective, but wanting to have a little bit of a more human feel to the music by having a live drummer behind it. And I think that's one of the amazing things, that when we actually first played shows in March, it was like we had performed together for years. So there was just like an instant, like a very instant chemistry that happened, even though we had never met each other before, and we had hit the stage running, and it was great. We had a really great response, and Palm Springs, where we played a show with Blacklight and Matt Black, and then we had done a show the following day after that at Bar Sinister with Blacklight and another band. I don't remember what their name was, but I think Bobby was kind of surprised by how the effect was from the people who were there in the audience, because we had a lot of people that came up to us afterwards asking us questions.
Exactly, yeah.
And that had not happened in a very long time, where, you know, a lot of people usually would not talk to me after I played a show. And then that very one that we did in Hollywood, it was just like, wow, it's like reignited, you know? So from doing something that I've been doing for such a long time, and going through different people that I've worked with, to now working with a person who doesn't really have a lot of, Bobby doesn't really, he's not very in the scene as far as from LA is concerned, because he's in Tacoma, so it's much different there. And I think that's one of the greatest differences, is that, you know, he doesn't know like a lot of some of the bands are. And so and so from that perspective, I think that brings a different dynamic, because of his style in how he drums. It just makes the music just much more powerful, I think. So I know that was a very long stretched answer or
No.
question, but Bay Machine has it's just was something that was brought up and came up, and we just stayed with it. So.
No, yeah, it's something that we've talked about here with a lot of colleagues, musicians, that having a band, it's a big responsibility. It's like having 3 or 4 relationships. Depending on the number of band members, right? But it's like having these other it's like having 3 or but the trials and hardships, we've talked about it, how sometimes we lose someone because of what you talked about, certain things that come up in life and they have to pick another path, right? But but this that happened right here, I've talked about this, when certain parts of certain songs, we would know that the drummer's gonna like, oh man, here comes this part when he's kind of like, he has a hard time with this part, but then a new drummer came in and flawless, like smooth, right? The gears start going. You don't have to worry about things that you had to worry before, right? It's kind of like an analogy. But let me say hello to Zwam. He's in Malibu, California. Salud, Zwam. How are you doing? How are you doing? Mónica, comadre, ¿cómo estás? Amiga, ¿cómo estás? Saludos. Pero thank you guys for joining us for a bit. And but yeah, that's something very interesting, right, Bobby? I'm pretty sure you've lived it. When you join different bands, you kind of feel that you sync up. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do, but when you do, it's instant, right? It's almost in instant.
As soon as he sent me some of his stuff, because he had like an ad out, I guess it was like 3 to 5 years old. No one responded to it.
Yeah.
So I found him. He's like, yeah, looking for a drummer for my electronic music. And I was like, okay. So I hit him up and I was like, send me some stuff. And he sent me the stuff. I was like, this is going to be a challenge. Challenge accepted. And I'll go and show you some video. I'll do an audition. You know, it started from there. Just saying hello, and kind of went from there, and then email back and forth.
Yeah, a lot of it was just like I said, it was all remote. Like,
it was. All
I would
remote.
send him things, and he would, send me a video back, and I'm just like, that's perfect. Okay, let's go to the next one. And so, because, like I said, because Bobby is not from California and doesn't really have a lot of influence over like some of the Los Angeles bands. He's just a completely different drummer, and so that's why I think it was. I remember telling him, I said, I don't think I can afford you.
I was like, what? I don't do this for the money. I'm like,
so he's like, no. Like, I want to join. And I was just like, all right, cool. Let's make it work.
Yeah.
And so
we did.
Yeah. And we did. So, yeah. So now as this, as a new team, it's really exciting. We're going to be we're in the process of planning a tour for the United Kingdom, as well as going to Scotland for the very first time, and also in France. So eventually we want to make our way over to Germany to, potentially do some of those festivals that they have in Germany. But we do have some things planned. We have a new album that I'm currently working on, and Bobby's working on, drum parts for those songs. And so that should be out next year. So we have definitely a lot of things that are coming up that I think are going to be really great, as well as different things that we're doing visually with the band. just to make our shows a lot more, I guess, I don't know, from a visual perspective, like having something in the background that really kind of speaks to the music that we're doing, to get a visual response. And a lot of people do, they use lighting and things like that. And I've always wanted Vein Machine to be a visual type band, but never really knew what direction to take it in. And so then I kind of started making these, like
Pretty cool
videos, and playing them to the music. And so then it's like, okay, cool. Like, this is, even though, we try to think that we are, distinct in some way in our own sound, that we also want to be distinct in what we're, in just our visuals. So we're very excited to be sharing that. I'm not sure we will have the opportunity to do that in Mexicali, because I'm not sure if they have a projection for us to use, but in Tijuana for sure we'll be using visuals there. And so we're really excited to incorporate that into our shows. So a lot of different things have been going on that we just didn't have before. But I would have to admit that I've been kind of on a hiatus from Vein Machine for a little bit of time, because of schooling. I went back to school to become an MRI technologist. So something completely different that, I'm still working with computers. So it's going to be a fun job. You know what I mean? So,
hey, well, let us know whenever you have a new single or something that you want us to give a shout out, or let people know. So just let me know, and I'll put it here. I have here a little section where I said, you know what, this band came up with new material, you got to listen to these. So I always give
I love that.
the audience has homework, so they have to go to your website, they have to subscribe and everything.
yes.
But hey, Monk, how do you feel playing with Omar after all these years that you met? You get a chance to play again together. How do you feel, man?
Always a pleasure, an honor. As
It's
Omar
ours.
said, we met, I
It's
think,
ours.
it was,
Thank you.
2017, I think.
Yeah.
With our first gig together.
That's cool.
And we started our friendship there. I saw him like 2 months ago, Omar, I think, at Kraftwerk Live.
Yeah.
The best show I've been in a long time. Loved it. Yeah, it's always nice to see you play again together. I couldn't play on the show here in Tijuana. I have other things to do, family stuff,
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, but I'll be there. I'll maybe late, but I'll be there. Yeah, and tomorrow it's gonna be an awesome show. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I'm pretty sure. But I'm sharing your YouTube website that I want to bring up for both of you guys. Let me bring up, this is for Vein Machine, and let me post up really quick the link so that you can go check out also Ego Bliss's YouTube site, so you can check out also his music. And in the description we have the Spotify, the Instagrams, all of these other social networks that you guys need to go check out. But let me bring up, I want to share a little bit of music with the audience. If you guys let me do it just for a little bit. YouTube is going to be like, hey, what are you doing? You should not be playing music of other whatever. I'll edit that tomorrow. So let me bring up this quick video that you guys can check out. We'll listen to a bit, and then we'll come back. Okay, give me 1 second.
Cool.
I love that video, by the way. It's super cool. It's super trippy, super old. These images, but this is something that you can find in Vein Machine's YouTube. This is the song "Breakdown," and let me bring up also. And do you have maybe a release date, or are you still in the works so that you have a premiere date for your new material for Vein Machine, Omar?
Not quite yet. And I
Okay.
think the reason why is, our label is very, very flexible. So it's kind of, once everything is ready to go, it's like, okay, I tell them and they kind of make up the date for that revolves around their release schedule. So I've been very, very lucky to be a part of this label that it's given me a lot of leeway to be able to kind of create my great music, or release music at any point without any kind of pressure. So so we're looking at very late fall for our next album, which is going to be titled Transmute. And along with all of that, I think that there was a lot of rebranding to Vein Machine, as between like logos, between everything that I felt that it just needed a kind of an overhaul. And one of the things that I think is that I've done, and I've kind of taken this this kind of note play or playbook kind of thing, where I don't like using the same logos for every release that we've done. So I think that's one thing that's people might be kind of confused about, is that we have so many different logos
Right.
out there that that we're always constantly kind of changing and evolving. We didn't want to be kind of set on what something looked like, and Vein Machine is always going to be Vein Machine, but as far as from a branding perspective, I think it's always going to look different, and just kind of speaks to the music that's being released at the time. So just as individual as the song is, or the release is, I feel like so should the branding behind it. I think like Depeche Mode does that very, very well, using Anton Corbijn to design their a lot of their like artwork and things like that. So you kind of see it like that. You see bands like OMD, New Order, that are always constantly kind of changing the look of how they are. Like they're not just stuck on one thing. And so I'm kind of taking that from their playbook and trying to incorporate something different every time we put something out. So
Nice. So let me know when you have something, so I can let our audience. And I'm gonna be like, I've been listening to your material, guys, and I love it. I'm gonna bring also the Ego Bliss YouTube, guys, so you can check it out. And do you have anything coming up with Ego Bliss? Are you working on something new, or what's coming up for long or short term? What's going on with you, man?
Yeah, at the moment I'm working on the new album. I plan to release it early next year, hopefully. I think I have around 8 songs ready. Been working I think for like 6 months now on the album. Just needs a few minor details to work on, maybe 2 more songs, and get some bands to do some remixes of the songs. But hopefully it will be out maybe February, March, I think.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So we'll keep you posted. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep me posted, man. Because right here I just shared in the comment section, there's the Ego Bliss YouTube, and in the description you'll find it also. You can go click there and you'll find the Instagram and all of these social networks that that I'm not I was never a fan of them, but eventually I had to open them up and I created a channel, right? And so, so like, yeah, right, Monk, you had to eventually do one. But yeah, the channel started because of the pandemic. Eventually, as a teacher, the classrooms, the soccer fields, everywhere shut down. And I was like, you know what? I want to keep teaching in a way. So I opened up the channel.
That's awesome. I
So
love it, man.
I saw a lot of toxic crap. I saw a lot of negativity. And I was like, you know what? Let's give a counter. Let's try and do something positive.
Yeah,
Let's
some
try
positive.
and learn from other experiences, learn from art, give away something to others that they can maybe take from this chat, right? So this is the last question for the night, guys. And let's the last one of the test. But let's imagine that we have here in the audience a musician or someone that has been like, you know what? I don't think that playing music is gonna be it's gonna give me for, let's say, a lot of people tell us art is not gonna give you to eat. That's what we say over here. El arte no te va a dar de comer. That's what we say over here.
Yeah.
And a lot of musicians over here are like, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna stop doing it, and I'm gonna do what everyone else does. But what would you, Omar and Bobby, and you got a little bit to think about, Monk. What would you tell some musicians that they have the talent, but they haven't jumped into the pool, right? They haven't taken this risk that we sometimes need to take. What would you tell them? Any suggestions that you would have, Omar, for someone in that
You
situation?
know, for someone who's been doing music as long as I have, I've been doing music since I was about 15 years old. And there was always these dreams of, oh, I want to play in these arenas, I want to be well known, I want all these different things. And sometimes like it being a musician can sometimes be like kind of cruel, especially with other musicians. And sometimes they'll try to take that kind of spirit away from you, kind of feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this because of this or that or whatever. And everybody has criticisms. But for me, doing this is one of those things where I know eventually that other people will, that they'll experience us, that they will find, our music, and they will enjoy it. And however long it takes to create that kind of fan base, it takes what it takes. Sometimes it's not always with the very first album that an artist does. Sometimes it could be one or two albums later, and then they're discovered, and then they blow up. But I think for us, because I consider Vein Machine to be a very like small band. And I think because there's a lot of marketing that has not really like been taken advantage of from a social media perspective to really kind of put ourselves out there. But don't give up, because I think that's one of the things. Like, I had almost given up after the last band that I had, and I never thought that I would have another opportunity. And then when that happened, Vein Machine was created, and it reignited everything for me. It gave me that passion, that love of music that that can never go away. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. Once you learn it, you don't forget how to do it. But I mean, maybe that's a bad analogy, but I think it's just one of those things where if you have passion in the music, doing music, and maybe you have to take a break from it, but you're always going to have it and not give up. You're always reinventing yourself. There's always going to be challenges along the way. And sometimes, yeah, there have been times where I've said, you know what, why do I keep doing this? But I do it because I love music. I'm not doing it because, I'm not doing it for really anything else. I'm not doing it for money, obviously.
Exactly.
And it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, I would say that we don't kind of have that kind of ego where we come off as like, oh, well, we're better than maybe somebody else or whatever. But I have very humble beginnings of just this small kid that had a love for for music at a young age and just wanted to share it. And so I'll continue doing that until maybe I can't do it anymore, you know. Yeah, don't give up on anything. Don't ever give up on your dreams, because you never know what will happen.
Yeah, and especially if you're passionate about it, right? If it's your passion, well, it comes natural. How about you, Bobby? What do you recommend, or what would you suggest someone that is like, you know what? I know this friend that told me that he's like, you know what? I was painting and I never made any money, and like, it's like this channel. I'm not getting any money, but eventually sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop because it's an investment. It's time. But I love it. I love having these chats. I love learning. And at least in my head, I'm like, at least I'm trying to help. I help someone, maybe one person or two, but maybe they learn something from this. But what do you think about this, Bobby? What would you tell someone?
Just, I mean, basically, number one, if you have a passion for it, don't let anybody stop you. I mean, I don't know how many people I flipped off in my mind or with words and be like, you know what? It's what I love doing. If you don't believe in it, then I don't need negativity around me. So I lost a lot of so-called friends because of stuff like that. And, yeah, like, I mean, even my parents, you know, growing up and playing music and kind of gave me the, you know, maybe it's time to stop, but I've always had it. So if you have that passion, do whatever it takes, because it's going to take time. It's going to take money. It's going to take tears, and it's going to take a lot of losing a lot of people in your life. If you're, if you're willing to sacrifice that, then I think that's the path that is meant for you. So,
but with great rewards.
Great rewards. No, of course. Yeah. So just stick with it, man.
Thanks a lot, Bobby. Yeah, totally. And yeah, I've talked about how our friends or our social circle, it starts shrinking when you get rid of these people that are dragging you or pulling you back instead of pushing you or helping you out, right? So eventually, as you said, these friends, the number grows, or instead of growing, it goes down. Right? It doesn't grow. But what do you think about this, Monk? What would you tell someone that is maybe like, you know what, I'm going to stop playing. This is not. I mean, it is for me, but these guys are right. They're telling me to stop. So, what do you think? What would you tell?
No.
Don't stop. It's a passion. I've been doing this since I was around 10 years old, creating covers from Pitch Mode and Nitsurev. And then at the early 2000s, we started buying synthesizers. And then we started believing in us, that we can do something good or something that people will love. People will connect with our music. And honestly, that's how the name Ego Bliss started, because of different situations in the underground scene. But that's another story.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's this passion inside of all of us who make music. And if you want to call it a job, it's a very, very jealous job.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
Totally.
Very.
Yeah. I maybe
That's crazy.
invest in this making music like maybe 20%, that I could be doing more, but I have my job, my family, friends, and sometimes it's too much, you know. But yeah, don't give up. I keep doing this because of this is what we love.
Yeah.
What we create, to try and maybe make people feel that with hearing your songs,
Exactly.
what you're trying to express. And so that's it. I don't think I could ever stop.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think I could ever stop. What I feel when people come up to me and say, "I love your music," it's the best, you know. because that's what I'm trying to make them dance, of course. But when dancing, they can relate to what I'm feeling, to what I'm trying to express. So
yeah, we get into that trance. You put us into that trance where we go into that zone and we disappear. And especially when you know that people connect that way, right? And it can be in a whole other country that we don't even know their language, but they can have these riffs or these synths that I relate to them, and I love that about music, that it breaks all the barriers or borders or whatever or walls or whatever. But one of the other reasons that I created the channel is since I've been a teacher for almost the time that you guys been doing music, I've seen how these kids, when 1 out of 20, those kids, my mom put me in paint and in painting class or in music class, and he's usually the kid that has developed more smarts or other abilities with the repetition, with the discipline, with the constant having to go by all these chords or all these techniques. But I've noticed how all these kids that go into arts or some sport develop these more knowledge. They socialize at an earlier age. So that's another reason that I wanted to have these conversations, so that parents, because we don't have kids here at your house. This is your house, guys, but no kids here. We don't, no. But I've had hundreds of kids, and I've seen this pattern that when they have art, music, or sports in their life, they eventually turn up not a rock star, not a superstar. No. But they develop other skills that these other kids don't. And especially with technology nowadays, the famous Black Mirrors and all these things. Now parents are like, back in the day it was like, smack in the ass. No, now it's here. Have this thing, man.
Have this. Yeah, exactly.
Here, just shut up and have this thing. And it pisses me off. And this is the way for me to some parents or maybe some youngins will be like, you know what? Maybe I should try it. Maybe I should put my kid into some art school or whatever. But eventually when they discover their passion and they relate to other people that have that same passion, they found themselves, right? So they don't have to put on any masks or imagine that there's someone else, right? So that's another objective of this channel, we could call it, right? Another mission. But I want to thank you guys a lot. It's very important to have a little bit of feedback. Omar, Bob, and Monk, what do you think about these chats? Usually they ask me, hey, what are you going to ask us? What are the questions? Are you going to ask us about the band, or what is it going to be about? But I like it to be like a jazz session. It's like an improv session, and it's more on the flow. But I'll give you a last word, guys. For you, Omar, Bobby, what do you think about this format or this style?
I think it was great. This is actually the first time that we've ever been invited to do something like this, so we didn't know what to expect. Even trying to get the setup right, for us to, like what do we do? So
shorts or my underwear.
It's definitely great experience getting to know you and to talk about what we love, how we got our beginnings, and like the people, even talking about like people who like mentored us and helped us along the way. I don't think I would have been able to do any of this if I didn't have the support from my family or even like my mom and dad. Luckily enough, I did have their support. But it's one of those things that this is I think you learn from other people, you learn from other musicians, and I love learning about what other people's experiences are and how they've gotten to where they're at. And everybody has a story, and it's fascinating because we're all in this club together, just doing all the things that we love, and so it's a great experience. And I want to thank you for inviting us to come on to your show and kind of share a little bit of history about who we are, where we were, where we're going. So, you know, I really do appreciate, you know, this opportunity for us to come on board and you know, I guess, you know, talk to your audience as well. And, you know, we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. You know,
No,
you guys are awesome.
on the contrary, man, it's and first of many. I hope that this is the first of many chats that we get to have here. And Bobby, it's your turn. I would like to hear your, because I click with you, the Carter Buford, the Tool, the drumming dude. That's totally me. So maybe we can have a chat and go into drumming, right? But
Exactly.
what do you think about our style here?
Same thing. I think it's very, very relaxing, chill. I love it, man. I think you're doing a great job at this. So I mean, I think you just really know how to connect with people, and that's really awesome. You made it really comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so thank you. Very good job, man. Great layout, everything.
Yeah. I have this is my wall. It's a green wall. I painted my wall green. Yeah, so we're like, hey, we don't even use it, so I'm gonna paint it green. And this way,
that's cool.
Yeah, and this way I can put whoever I have in the show, I can put their album or whatever here on the back. So
nice.
So that's something that we thought about. And here, Charlie from Sonoras, he says, keep up with the good work, Bay Machine. This was a great conversation. Much success. And my dear Yudi says, thank you guys. I hope you have a blast in Mexico. Subscribe to both of your channels. Thank you, babe.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's awesome.
And this is the third show that I've had in English. I have a friend in New York, a friend in here in well, he's actually in Seattle right now, and we had a conversation about previous to this previous election when Trump was going for the re-election. So I wanted to get their point of view. And so this is the third time that we have had an English spoken show. So, but let's go with you, Monk. This is not the first time that you've been here, but what did you think about this show? And hopefully it will have more in the future.
Also, it's my first time doing an interview like this. It was awesome. The way to express what we know, what we feel. Right. And I wish the other band members were here, Marianne and Mitch. I don't know what they're doing.
Mitch is working. Mitch is DJing, right?
Yeah, they're busy. But yeah, maybe next time we can do it in Spanish. I don't know if you guys are up to it.
Hey, you know what? We can definitely do it, but
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you right now that my Spanish is very bad. It's very bad,
and I don't speak Spanish or understand it. But
yeah, but no, I'm sure there's a way that we can do it. I'll use a translator.
No worries.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll find someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yes, thank you.
Hopefully, we'll do this again, and hopefully, you can make it to the Mexicali show and the Tijuana show. So,
yes, please.
Thanks a lot.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. For sure. In the TJ one, I'm still not sure about the Mexicali one, since we still have to do some stuff tomorrow. But for sure, we'll be in the Saturday show. But it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure, and hopefully the first of many also, man, for you guys here in the channel. And that's the purpose, right? So that people get to know new people, maybe a new band or a new genre. For some, maybe it's like, oh, I didn't even know about this genre. Hey, Swamp has a quick question. Do you have any influence by Faithless? Any of you guys?
For me, from Faithless, yes. That's an interesting question, only because a lot of some of the other influences, it's just not just like Depeche Mode of things that I grew up listening to, but I really became very heavily influenced when electronica music became very popular. And MTV used to have this one like program that they would bring on like all these different like drum and bass artists and artists I'd never heard of, like, like Underworld and Orbital, and I didn't even know who the Prodigy was at that point. and Faithless is one of those bands I do listen to, and I try to, the bands that I really love, I really try to grab it, like little snippets from all of them, and just kind of create those things, or create the sound that I'm kind of looking for, because it's one of those things that I guess what ends up happening too often is when you're in a specific genre, there's not like a lot of, I guess what I maybe this is not like the right thing to say, but sometimes you have bands that they don't push themselves to kind of like break out of like a certain style, and so they continue to keep making that same kind of style. And for me, I think for what Vein Machine is that, and one of the things that you'll see once you see us play on Saturday, is that there's so many different things and elements and that are going on, that it's just, I think it's just different. From my perspective, it's different. And I hope that people enjoy it. So great question. Cool. Faithless I love that band. So thank you for the question.
Thanks, Wam, all the way to Malibu, California, bro. Thank you. He's a frequent flyer here in the channel. So
nice.
Thanks. He right here. He goes, thanks a lot.
Thank
you for the question, man. Thank you for the question, man. Thanks. But guys, I want to thank you once again. And but what you just mentioned, it reminded me that Carlos, you were asking us that what different genres they listen to. At the beginning of the chat, we actually talked a little bit about that. But it's a question here that Charles had about, did you guys listen to several other music genres besides the style that you have? And I think that's something that Bobby, for example, told us, that he had a big influence of different genres. And here Brianda Yuria for can't wait to know you, Bane Machine. Brianda was right here. So Brianda's here like, can't wait to meet them. But yeah, I've talked here about I have sometimes these shows where I don't have any guests, but I try to give five suggestions or recommendations. But it's not only metal, right? I like to show them how musicians, we are very diverse. We sometimes try to get something from jazz, sometimes from R&B, sometimes from pop, but every genre helps us. And sometimes I'll give you Sigur Rós, some Bjork, some Radiohead, and then Massive Attack, Tricky, and I'll go all over, right? But Massive Attack! Man, we got to see them. We got to see him in Coachella with Massive Attack. That was like, oh my goodness.
Oh, cool.
But no, the best one was with King Crimson. Can you imagine with King Crimson? Tour with King Crimson.
Really?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, here in San Diego in Cox Arena.
That's so awesome.
It was 2003, I think it was. But guys, I don't want to take more time from you guys. You guys still have a lot to do tomorrow and the day after. But thank you very much for coming over. First of many chats that we'll have. Monk, Bobby, and Omar, I hope that you enjoyed the time. Everyone in the chat screen, or in the chat screen, everyone in there in the audience, and thank you for joining us. And once again, I'm sorry for my voice, but I went to this Revocation concert yesterday. Shout out to Memo also, that we bumped into each other yesterday. Shout out to Memo Sanders. We bumped into each other. There's Yuri. And there's me before the bump in the head, of course. But yeah, thanks for hanging with my throat. But thanks, guys. Thank you again. Big hug from TJ. I'll see you soon on Saturday. Monk, I'll see you soon. Eventually. Okay, man. Maybe I'll see you in the show. Saludos al Mitch. Mitch, maybe he's watching us while he's still DJing right now. But thanks a lot, guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys soon. Everyone in the audience, thank you very much. Muchas gracias por haberle caído. Descansen. Have a great night, and I'll see you soon, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.